review time. Now, it took me forever and a day to read this damn thing. Kind of the book's fault, kind of my fault. And also, as this video is titled, disclaimers, because apparently my book reviews on my channel gets a lot of interesting comments after a while. A couple of them I've even had to just flat out delete the videos or take them off of listed because people were getting aggressive and I was tired of deleting very angry, ridiculous comments all the time, so I just took them off. Fridge. But it says my thoughts for a reason. It is just my thoughts. You can hate the book, you can love the book, all of the things. Just please be nice in the comments down below. If anyone starts dragging me or other people for no reason, then I'm gonna stop doing book reviews. But anyway, on to this. The Dark Goddess Craft, A Journey Through the Heart of Transformation by Stephanie Woodfield. Now, this book, it's not very quote-unquote long-ish, I guess, compared to some of the other books. Like, it's 170, without the bibliography, it is, what, 100 and almost 200 pages? Yeah, 197, almost 200. So for me, that's not a hugely long book, but the way this book is set up, for me personally, took a very long time to get through. And as I said earlier, it's a bit of me and just this part of life I was in, and also just, I guess, also the style of the book. So it is broken up to basically kind of take you through these really great meditations with different dark goddesses, and then go into a little bit of their story and what the offerings could be good for them. It even gives you, I think, rituals for each one. Yeah, it gives you like a little ritual or a little thing that you can do to help invoke them and or help honor them, or like any of that stuff, which is fantastic. And it really helped to expose me to a whole bunch of different goddesses that I didn't even know existed, but were totally up my alley, especially if you're the type of person who's like, yeah, no, I'm all about the darker side of things. What is that hairpiece doing there? Can you just not? Yeah, there's just a lot of things like that where if it's darker stuff and you're like into the whole like, let's talk about the shadows and the grittiness and the things that maybe society at large doesn't think is divinely feminine or goddessy or whatever else, like this kind of addresses a lot of that stuff with different gods from a multitude of pantheons too, which is nice. Like it goes everywhere from like Hinduism to Celtic to Egyptian goddesses and Greek. It dabbles quite a bit with different people. I think there's even an Inuit goddess in here, which I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that pantheon even slightly. I know nothing about it. The very beginning is a little bit of intro to dark gods, like dark gods. Are they dangerous, or ones that are considered dark, quote unquote, I guess by society at large. I mean, I always find it interesting who other people consider dark gods, and then the rest of it kind of goes on a, like, if you were delving into the shadows of yourself and how you have to kind of do the whole like, oh shit, there's something I have to deal with, delve down deep, and then the whole like rebirth and coming out of it process and dealing with yourself. It kind of structures out the goddesses on that journey. So it like gives you a whole bunch of goddesses that would help you confront yourself, face your shadows, delve into the underworld, like the ones that really take you through it type of deal. Confront certain things like your anger or your fear or your lack of worth, etc. and so forth. And then it kind of brings you out with goddesses that really focus on the coming out of certain things, very transitionary acceptance types of stuff, right? Now, I personally really loved the meditations and or I guess, I don't know, the guided sections of this book. Like once it actually got into the goddesses section, which I think takes about almost like 50 pages in before you finally get to the actual, like, let's talk about the goddesses now. Like it does the whole like, this is the kind of journey we're going on in the book for about this much of it, about 50 pages, and then it finally gets into around page 57. The Washer at the Ford is the first one, which is talking about the Morrigan. And each of the, I call them the meditations at the beginning of the book were so changing and very visceral for me. I think they're extremely well written. It really just puts you right there with the gods. If you have trouble visualizing or meditating on your own with certain gods, I think this would be very helpful for you, just because I saw all of them talking about different things constantly. I was extremely intrigued by every single goddess that got brought up into this book. Those parts, I think, were probably the main reason why I had such a hard time getting through this book, because I would come out of each of the little meditation sections of each goddess and be like, okay, shit, like, okay, what am I facing? What am I doing? What am I dealing with? Like, what's going on here? I would face a lot of things. I literally would read like 1, maybe 2 of these at a time and be like, need to sit down, need to journal that, need to process my thoughts. Especially when it came to the gods that I didn't necessarily know much about, if that makes sense, right? Like there's some where I was like, I was aware they existed, but there's a lot where I was like, oh, like I did not know. Like this, I'm never gonna be able to say this one right, so we'll put that up there. I believe is a Hindu goddess. Yes. Let's see if I can find a place where it tells me. Yeah. Okay. So it's a Hindu goddess who is constantly like rearranging. She rides on the back of a crocodile, which of course I immediately was like, excuse me, huh? What? Crocodile? Crocodiles? I like crocodiles. It's all about change. This one really rocked me hard. I had to like sit there and be like, what am I confronting here? And I think that was part of it, is there's so much interesting concepts with kind of talking about dark goddesses with goddesses I don't necessarily know, and like talking to them and having this meeting within these meditations. Like there are times where like I'm reading and like it gets to the end of the meditation and like my brain is still going, like it's like no, we're here, we're gonna mess with this thing, which is very, very interesting and intriguing, but a lot to take on, especially if you're going through like a major transition in your life and you're like, fuck, I'm gonna face some shit right now. And you're like, and for me, this book brought up a lot of shadows and a lot of things I just had to kind of confront and deal with, especially when it kind of came to, because one of my gods that I follow is Persephone, and she is the last goddess in here that you deal with. And it felt very like coming home for me, like, oh, hi mama, like you're the last one, hi, what's up? And I can't say enough good things about all these meditations. Hopefully they would resonate for y'all as well. I don't know, some people I think don't do all that well when they're like, guided meditations don't necessarily work for me all the time, or a guided like walkthrough, just because something will take your notice while you're meditating, and then, or while you're reading or whatever else, and then suddenly you're like, oh, well, I want to go down here, but the reading's taking you a different way, and it's very like, but I'll forget about that and I won't. So like I had to kind of just come to terms with the fact, I was like, okay, if this is bringing something up for me, I'm gonna have to divert and venture off and see what's happening, and then I will come back to this. And I did that periodically. The ritual sections now, I didn't necessarily do, just because some of these goddesses I was like, thank you for teaching me the lesson. I gave like kind of a thing of gratitude. I did a little bit of like, in my astral altar, a little thing of like, thank you so much. Like, this is a great thing to have this kind of shoved in my face and have you teach me this lesson. Thank you very much. But for me, I don't do a lot of rituals or, I don't know, spell invoking of anyone at my physical altar here in this reality that I'm not devoted to. So those sections didn't really, I was reading them at first like a lot, and then I started just scanning them at the end, just because it does have like a whole like evocation thing that you can say for evocation to Bab or Badab from the Morgan. Then you have like different, like it tells you like how to do different spells, putting pieces back together spell for the Hindu goddess. I'm gonna see if I can say this. Akil Devashat. I'm not gonna do this. Akil Andeshvari. Close-ish, maybe. Someone who actually can speak that one or pronounce these, please help pronounce correctly for me, because but so there was like a putting pieces back together spell. It tells you like you need an old puzzle, a permanent marker, a candle, and it like rocks the whole spell through you. So especially if you're like searching for goddesses maybe to commit yourself to, and you're like, I don't even know how to start, and I like the darker goddesses side of things, could be a nice thing for you to peruse through. Also too, I think it's, especially for people who are already intrigued by the shadowy, darker side of things, this is such an interesting way, because when each of the goddesses were explored in this book, I really appreciated how different aspects that we consider shadowy or dark, or in society at large, or that you might even consider dark or shadowy, but like maybe someone else doesn't. Like a lot of different things get brought up here, and it kind of helps you to confront that a little bit. Like a lot of what I was going through, it was very interesting how I would come upon a certain person and be like, interesting. Like there's the Greek goddess Eris of discontent, and I believe sometimes chaos too. And I remember like looking into her a little bit and being very put off-ish by her. It was interesting. It was like, well, why do I feel that way? When she was described and confronted in the meditation and then talked about in this book, I was like, this is it's pulling up some stuff here. It's very, very interesting. Okay, yeah, so it's broken up into part 1, who the dark goddesses are, part 2, the descent. So it has 4 goddesses that kind of talk about the whole descending, the whole bringing you into the darkness or underworld or whatever, what have you. The challenge, or kind of the confrontation part of that, and then the rebirth. And I don't know, for this book, I will say that if you don't necessarily resonate with the goddesses, if there's a certain path you're already kind of on and you're looking for like a deep dive into like any kind of thing, this is not that book. This is like much more of a scanning through, hey, let's talk about some things with meditations, and then bring up some societal things you might want to confront about darkness and or shadows type of deal. But yeah, so on the back of the book it says, discover how to utilize the many faces of the dark goddess, navigate the process of deep and rewarding change. This empowering practical guide looks at the misconceptions surrounding challenges, deities, and encourages you to draw on their power to work through aspects of yourself or your life that you wish to change. Organizing into 3 sections, Descent, Challenge, Rebirth, Dark Goddess Craft guides you through your own shadow work and helps you emerge renewed. Every step on your path of transformation is connected to a different face of a dark goddess, and Stephanie Woodfield provides rituals, invocations, and offerings for 11 of them. You can mourn loss, the wash of the four, and learn how to move past betrayal with Sedna. Gain personal independence with Bedoued. I apologize profusely for these pronunciations. My poor tongue. And become the champion of your own life with Scotch. Light a torch to light your way. This book helps you heal and transform into the best version of yourself. Stephanie Woodfield has been a practicing witch for over 14 years and a priestess for 10 years. Her lifelong love of Irish mythology led to a closely study of Celtic witchcraft. A natural clairvoyant and empath, she has worked with as a tarot card reader and is ordained as a minister within the Universal Life Church. She lives in Orlando, Florida. Now, I will also say this, because this got brought up a lot with my other book reviews, and I realized I was like, oh, I don't really ever do that. I do not look up authors at all before I read their book. I think honestly the best depiction of who a person is kind of what they put in a book. Like, I'm kind of like, oh, you're kind of exposing a piece of yourself, your craft, your soul to the book. So that is, I have not researched Stephanie Woodfield at all in any way, shape, or form. I have no idea if she's an amazing goddess, wonderful person, or I should say they. Yeah, they. Not sure what. It says she in the back of the book, so that's pronouns correct. If she is all about all the things, or if she has some problematic sides to her, I don't really research that. A lot of times I just pick up a book, see if it resonates with me. Did it bring me something? Did it make me learn, confront, take in new knowledge, all of that stuff? And if it does, then I'm all about the book. And I don't then pursue later more about the authors really, unless I am like life-changing, oh my goddess, things happen from a book, right? Like, I don't really do a lot of heavy research. If that's you, cool, awesome, but that's not me. Sometimes it's just like, oh, well, okay, well, I read that book, it kind of resonated for me, but the author or others' works or other comments never really did, so I don't know. But so far, I really enjoyed this book. I would thoroughly recommend it for people who want a brief overview of dark goddesses, are interested in some shadow work, are interested in more of an overview of other dark goddesses, maybe someone new looking into dark goddesses who are like, hey, I want to play with the gods that maybe others aren't So I don't know all about, you know, because like, again, there's so many times where I've heard other people, I've never had this experience, but I've had other people say things like, yeah, when I wanted to work with the Morgan or Hecate or I've never heard it with Persephone, I don't think, but like a bunch of people have always talked about, or Kali, I've heard that a lot, where people say like, I work with Kali, and other people are like, you shouldn't. Like, that's not a goddess you should touch. Like, she's dark, she's crazy, it's gonna wreck your life. And I just don't agree with that concept. Like, if something resonates really well for you and you are all about connecting with a deity that others may consider dark, sometimes that's what that person needs in order for them to really connect with the divine, is they need to have a connection with something that's a little shadowy, a little hidden, a little gritty and full of the darkness. Anyway, those are my thoughts overall on this book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I got a lot out of it. Definitely had a huge amount of revelations with it, which makes it, for me, a really enjoyable read, but also like a very like mess me up a little bit kind of read. Let me know if you guys have read The Dark Goddess Craft, or if you've read other works by Stephanie Woodfield. I make new videos every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We are back to that scheduling, so yay. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.